Welcome to Lesson 10, Peer Review and Revisions for Final Draft. In this lesson, you're going to explore the difference between revising and editing. Note that revising and editing are both two tasks that you undertake to significantly improve your essay. Both are very important elements to the writing process. You should revise and edit in stages. Do not expect to catch everything in your essay that needs improvement at once. It's going to take going through an essay several different times with different focuses or foci to be able to revise it and edit it thoroughly. The purpose of revising and editing. When you revise, you take a second look at your ideas. You might add, cut, move, or change information in order to make your ideas clearer, more accurate, more interesting, or more convincing. When you edit, however, you take a second look at how you expressed your ideas. You add or change words, you fix any problems in grammar, punctuation, and sentence structure. You improve your writing style, you make your essay a more polished, mature piece of writing, and the end product is the result of your best efforts. Strategies for examining a first draft. So some things that you should do when you're examining your first draft. First, take a break. You're proud of what you wrote, but you might be too close to it, having just written it, to be able to revise or edit it. So set it aside for some time, some hours, a day or so, and then go back to it when you can look at it objectively. Also, ask someone you trust for feedback and constructive criticism. In this case, as a student, that's typically going to be your teacher or the peers in your class. Also, pretend you are one of your readers, right? You're a member of the audience that your essay is geared toward. Would you be satisfied with your writing if you were the audience? Why or why not? That can give you a lens to examine your writing from as well. For many people, the word critic, critical, criticism, these words provoke negative feelings that make them uneasy. However, as a writer, you need to learn to be critical of yourself in a positive way and have high expectations for your work. A good research paper is both organized and cohesive. So when you're revising your paper, you're revising it for organization, cohesion, as well as unity. Organization means that your argument flows logically from one point to the next. Cohesion means that the elements of your paper work together smoothly and naturally. In a cohesive research paper, information from research is seamlessly integrated with the writer's ideas. When you are revising to improve organization, you're going to look at the flow of ideas throughout the essay as a whole and within individual paragraphs. You check to see that your essay moves logically from the introduction to the body paragraphs to the conclusion, and that each section reinforces your thesis. Here's a checklist for organization. You'll notice that there are some parts for the essay level as well as the paragraph level. Practice exercise 1. Here you are provided with a paragraph or a description of the purpose of the paragraph. And then you see the paragraph here that is written. This is without the revisions. And then you see what that paragraph becomes with the revisions based on what's listed here in the purpose. So it tells you where he made the improvements. And you get to see what that visually looks like from what it was without the changes and what it was with the changes. This is going to be something that comes up multiple times in this lesson and in this PowerPoint, so that you can see examples of writing pieces with revisions made. Here are some steps that you are provided with in order to begin revising your work for organization. So as you follow these steps, you're able to better revise your work. There's another slide with additional steps. They're continued. And here there is another slide of more steps. So they all kind of go together. This is one list. They're just broken up onto multiple slides. Okay. Careful writers use transitions to clarify how the ideas in their sentences and paragraphs are related. So this has to do with coherence. These words and phrases help the writing flow smoothly. Adding transitions is not the only way to improve coherence, but they are often useful and give a mature feel to your essays. Earlier chapters have discussed using transitions for specific purposes in the planning of your writing. So first we talked about organization. Now we're talking about coherence. So here are different transitional words with different purposes that you might use or might take note of as you are reviewing and making changes to your paper or piece of writing. There's transitions that show sequence or time, transitions that show position, conclusion. There's transitions that continue a line of thought or change a line of thought, as well as transitions that show importance. There are also transitions that introduce final thoughts in a paragraph, open paragraphs, or connect ideas inside paragraphs, as well as transitions that introduce examples. So based on what's in your essay, you'll notice that different paragraphs and different sentences need transitions for different things based on what they are trying to do. Here, we'll introduce another practice exercise where you'll see a sample essay or piece of writing and how this person made revisions based on the use of transitions. It's set up the same way, so you'll see the writing piece before, and then you'll see the writing piece with the revisions based on the transitions. Okay, so we talked about revising to improve cohesion, and this is still a part of that. When you're revising to improve cohesion, you analyze how the parts of your paper work together. You look for anything that seems awkward or out of place. Revision may involve deleting unnecessary material or rewriting parts of the paper so that the out-of-place material fits in more smoothly. In a research paper, problems with cohesion usually occur when a writer has trouble integrating source material. If facts or quotations have been awkwardly dropped into a paragraph, they distract or confuse the reader instead of working to support the writer's point. Overusing paraphrased and quoted material has the same effect. So those are something that you should be aware of and careful with as you're writing. There's also a checklist for revising for cohesion, just as there was one for revising for organization. So here, there's different things to take into consideration as you are revising your paper for cohesion. There's 2 slides because it's a continuation of a list. All right, exercise 3, we have a writing sample where the point here is to show what it looks like when a piece is revised for cohesion. So set up just like before, you have the sample writing as well as the piece when it's revised for cohesion. So you get to see the before and after. Here, this is an explanation of why the author revised his paper accordingly, just to help you kind of get an advanced understanding of the decision-making process and the thought process behind the revisions that were made. There's also a checklist with steps to follow as you begin to revise your paper for cohesion. This is a list and it's just broken up simply into 2 different slides. So you'll notice it starts here and it continues on the next slide. These are steps that you can take when you are revising your paper to improve its cohesion. Here we are with writing at work, right? Understanding cohesion can also benefit you in the workplace, especially when you have to write and deliver a presentation. Speakers sometimes rely on cute graphics or funny quotations to hold their audience's attention. If you choose to use these elements, make sure they work well with the substantive content of your presentation. For example, if you're asked to give a financial presentation and the financial report shows that the company lost money, funny illustrations would not be relevant or appropriate to the presentation. So you have to really take into consideration what is the purpose of what you are doing. What are you trying to get across? What's your message? And make sure that all of the elements speak to that. Reading your writing aloud also often helps you find problems with unity and coherence. It's a really useful tool so that you can kind of catch certain things that you didn't catch while you were simply writing. Listen for the clarity and flow of your ideas, identify places where you find yourself confused, and write a note to yourself about possible fixes. Creating unity. Sometimes writers get caught up in the moment and cannot resist a good digression. Even though you might enjoy such detours when you chat with friends, unplanned digressions usually harm a piece of writing, right? Going off on tangents and missing the point or taking detours in your writing. That's not the way that unified writing develops, right? You want to get to from point A to point B linear. You don't want to take curved detours in your writing. Following your outline closely offers you a reasonable guarantee that your writing will stay on purpose and not drift away from the controlling idea. However, when writers are rushed, are tired, or cannot find the right words, their writing may become less than what they want it to be. Their writing may no longer be clear and concise, and they may add information that is not needed to develop the main idea. So you got to be careful when you're writing. You want to make sure that you are at your best so that you are able to write your best. When a piece of writing has unity, all the ideas in each paragraph and in the entire essay clearly belong and are arranged in an order that makes logical sense. When the writing has coherence, the ideas flow smoothly. The wording clearly indicates how one idea leads to another within a paragraph and from paragraph to paragraph. Here's an example again with revisions based on unity within a writing sample. So you'll notice this is the description of what's being corrected. Here is the before the piece was revised, and the after. Set up very similar. So tip, when you reread your writing to find revisions to make, look for each type of problem in a separate sweep. Read it straight through once to locate any problems with unity. Read it straight through a second time to find any problems with coherence. You may follow this same practice during many stages of the writing process. So ultimately, you're going to read your essay multiple times because each time you're going to be looking for something different. Many companies hire copy editors and proofreaders to help them produce the cleanest possible final drafts of large writing projects. Copy editors are responsible for suggesting revisions and style changes. Proofreaders check documents for any errors in capitalization, spelling, and punctuation that have crept in. Many times, these tasks are done on a freelance basis with one freelancer working for a variety of clients. Also, when you're writing, you want to make sure that you use consistent style and tone. Once you're certain that the content of your paper fulfills your purpose, you can begin revising to improve style and tone. Together, your style and tone create the voice of your paper, or how you come across to readers. Style refers to the way you use language as a writer, the sentence structures you use, and the word choices you make. Tone is the attitude toward your subject and audience that you convey through your word choice. Determining an appropriate style and tone. Although accepted writing styles will vary within different disciplines, the underlying goal is the same: to come across to your readers as knowledgeable, authoritative, and a guide. Writing about research is like being a tour guide who walks readers through a topic. A stuffy, overly formal tour guide can make readers feel put off or intimidated. Too much informality or humor can make readers wonder whether the tour guide really knows what he or she is talking about. Extreme or emotionally charged language comes across as unbalanced. To prevent being overly formal or informal, determine an appropriate style and tone at the beginning of the research process. Consider your topic and audience because these can help dictate style and tone. For example, a paper on new breakthroughs in cancer research should be more formal than a paper on ways to get a good night's sleep. Here is a checklist that helps you with revising for style. You'll notice that it's a couple of slides long as well. We move on. After style, we're talking about revising for word choice. So there's also a shorter checklist that helps you revise for word choice. Using plural nouns and pronouns or recasting a sentence can help you keep your language gender neutral while avoiding awkwardness, right? So this is something that we talked about in our previous lesson when it comes to pronoun usage. It's just kind of reiterated and revisited here as well in lesson 10. Keeping your style consistent. As you revise your paper, make sure your style is consistent throughout. Look for instances where a word, phrase, or sentence does not seem to fit with the rest of the writing. It is best to reread for style after you have completed the other revisions so that you are not distracted by any larger content issues. Here are some strategies that help you keep your style consistent. You want to read your paper out loud, share your paper with another reader whom you trust to give honest feedback. Edit your paper slowly, sentence by sentence. We have another example here that shows revisions in live. So you get to see what the before looks like as well as what the after looks like with the revisions. Here are some steps that you should follow when you are looking to improve the style of your essay. There's a continuation of those steps. And in the next part, we're going to get into peer review and what it means to complete a peer review. So lesson 10 has 2 videos. This is part 1 of 2. Stay tuned for part 2 of 2.